What did really happen?
Suddenly, last summer, he wasn't young anymore. We went to Cabeza de Lobo, and suddenly he switched from the evenings to the beach.
From the evenings to the beach?
I mean, from the evenings to the afternoons. Suddenly, Cousin Sebastian changed to the afternoons on the beach.
What kind of beach was it? Was it a public beach?
Yes, public.
Little statements like that will give her away.
Mrs. Venable.
After all I've told you about his fastidiousness, can you accept such a statement? That Sebastian will go every day to some dirty, green public beach near a harbor?
Whatever she wants to say, I want her to say it. Go on.
I don't...
Every afternoon, you and your cousin Sebastian would go to this free public beach?
It wasn't the free one. The free one was right next to us. There was a fence between the free beach and the beach that we went to that charged admission.
I see. Did anything happen there that disturbed you?
Yes.
What?
He bought me a bathing suit I didn't want to wear. I laughed. I said, I can't wear that. Why, it's a scandal to the jaybird.
What do you mean? Was this suit immodest?
It was a one-piece bathing suit made of white something. But the water made it transparent. I told him I didn't want to swim in it, but he just grabbed my hand and dragged me into the water all the way in, and I came out looking naked.
Why did he do that? You know why he did that?
Yes. To attract attention.
Why? Because he thought you were lonely? Did he think he could shock you out of your depression?
You know why I was doing it. I told you. I was procuring for him. Sebastian was lonely, Doctor. That empty Blue Jay notebook got bigger and bigger. So big it was big and empty like that big empty blue sea and sky. And before long, when the weather was warmer and the beach so crowded, he didn't need me anymore for that purpose. The ones from the free beach would climb over the fence and swim around it. So now he let me wear a decent dark suit. And I'd go to a far away end of the beach and write postcards and letters and keep up my third-person journal till it was time to meet him outside the bathhouses on the street. He would come out, follow.
Who'd follow him?
The hungry young people that had climbed over the fence from the free beach. He'd pass out tips among them as if they'd all shine his shoes or call taxis for him. Each day the crowd got bigger, noisier, greedier. Last we stopped going out there.
And after that, after you stopped going to the public beach?
Then one day, a few days after we stopped going out to the beach, it was a blazing white day. Not a blazing hot blue day, but a blazing hot white one.
Yes.
We had a late lunch at a shabby, lonely restaurant by the sea there. Sebastian was white as the weather. He had on a white silk suit, a white tie, a white Panama, and he kept touching his face and his throat here and there with a white silk handkerchief and popping little white pills into his mouth all the time. I knew he was having a bad time with his heart and that it frightened him. And let's go north, he kept on saying. I think we've done Cabeza de Lobo. I think we've done it, don't you? I thought we'd done it. Then there were those children along the beach, which was fenced off with wire from the restaurant. Our table was less than a yard away from the wire fence. And those children, there was a band of them. They looked like a flock of plucked birds, and they came darting up to the wire fence as if they'd been blown there by the wind, by the hot white wind from the sea, and they were all calling out, "Come, come, come."
They were calling for bread?
They made gobbling noises with their mouths, stuffing their fists into their mouths and making gobbling noises with frightful grins. We were sorry we'd come to the place, but it was too late to go.
Why was it too late to go?
I told you, Cousin Sebastian wasn't well. His eyes looked dazed. He said, "Don't look at those little monsters. Beggars are a social disease in this country. If you look at them, you get sick of the country. It spoils the whole country for you."
Go on. Go on. Go on.
I am going on. The band of children began to serenade us.
Into what?
Play for us on instruments, make music, if you could call it music.
Oh.
Their instruments were instruments of percussion. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, instruments of percussion, like drums. Drummers?
As far as I could make out in the white blaze at the sand beach, the instruments were tin cans strung together. And bits of metal, other bits of metal that had been flattened out and made into...
Into what?
Cymbals, you know?
Yes, brass plates hit together.
That's right. Tin cans flattened out and clashed together, cymbals. The others had other things, all sorts of things that they'd made or picked up on the beach to make a sort of noise, a music made out of noise.
Go on.
I am going on. Nothing can stop me now.
Your cousin Sebastian, was he entertained by this concert?
Terrified of it.
Terrified? Why?
I think he recognized some of the musicians, some of the boys between childhood and older.
What did he do? Did he complain to the manager about it?
What manager? God? You don't understand my cousin.
How do you mean?
He accepted all as how things are. He thought nobody had any right to complain or interfere in any way whatsoever. Even though he knew what was awful, that what was wrong, he thought it unfitting to ever take any action about anything whatsoever, except to go on doing as something in him directed.
What did this something in him direct him to do?
He suddenly pushed himself away from the table and said, "They've got to stop that. Make them stop that. I'm not a well man. I have a heart condition. It's making me sick." That was the first time that Cousin Sebastian had ever attempted to correct the human situation. I think that was his fatal error. He stalked out of the restaurant after throwing a handful of paper money on the table. He fled from the place. I followed. It was all white outside. White hot, a blazing white hot.
You followed Sebastian out of the restaurant, onto that hot white street?
Running along the beach.
You ran along the beach?
No. We didn't. We didn't move either way. At first, I rarely made any suggestion, but this time I did.
What did you suggest?
Cousin Sebastian seemed to be paralyzing at the entrance of the cafe, so I said, "Let's go." I remember I said, "Down that way is the harbor, and we're more likely to find a taxi near there. Or why don't we go back in and have them call us a taxi?" "Oh, let's do that. That's better." And he said, "Are you mad? Go back in that filthy place? Never. That gang of kids shouted vile things about me to the waiters." Oh, I said, "Well, let's go down towards the harbor. Let's not try to climb that hill in this dreadful heat." Cousin Sebastian shouted, "Please shut up. Let me handle this situation, will you? I want to handle this thing." And he started up the steep street with a hand stuck in his jacket where I knew he was having a pain from his palpitations, but he walked faster and faster in panic. The faster he walked, the louder and the closer it got.
Closer what got?
The music.
The music again?
The music, the noise of the following band. They were following up the blazing white street, straight up. That was the only way open, so he went that way.
He tried to escape from those streets?
He tried to escape from those streets.
But he couldn't find a way out.
He couldn't find a way out.
Did the band of children?
When tried to escape from the streets, down those little side streets, between the buildings. They came from everywhere. So the only way was up. The only way was straight up. Up those steep white streets, and then the sun that was like a great white bone of a giant beast that had caught on fire in the sky. And Sebastian kept running straight up. I don't know how he still ran. He never ran, but he ran and he ran and he ran where it was whiter and emptier.
What was emptier?
The white sky and the light. Those deep white streets and the sun and everything blazed white and empty.
Where did those streets lead to?
Nowhere.
He never reached.
He never reached the end. They stopped nowhere, never. Except at the very top of the hill, something, a ruin, broken stones,
Like what?
like the entrance to a ruined temple, an ancient ruined temple which he entered, and it overtook him. There in that.
And you, Jackson, what did you do then?
I heard Sebastian scream. He screamed just once.